Welcome to chapter 17 of Memoirs of a White Guy, the first episode of 2017. How underwhelming. Everyone's go, oh, it's new year, new me, hashtag new year, new. If you hashtag new year, new me on any recent Instagram or Facebook posts, it's same old you. I mean, that's a generic ass. Unless you weren't a faggot in 2016, you are now. So, yeah, I mean, new you, well done. You've become a douchebag overnight. Actually, you know who else is douchebag material? Anyone who sets a New Year's resolution. You're kidding yourself, aren't you? No one ever goes like at the start of the year, just on midnight, I'm going to lose 50 kilos and get a promotion at work. And then next year backs it up with, I lost 60 and now I'm the first anorexic CEO of my company. And everyone goes, oh, well done, you had such a great year. That never happens. It's like, I'm going to lose 50 kilos and get a promotion. And then they eat a bunch of cake and punch their boss in the face at the welcome back party. And boom, year's over. They've got a criminal record. And the rest of 2017 is spent doing community service. So that's really a typical year for any douchebag who sets a New Year's resolution. So just don't do it. Here's what I do. I set realistic goals. So then I was like, oh, I'm gonna have some cereal. Fucking, I did that literally. I woke up January 1st, ate cereal. I'm now done for the year. This is why you don't set your goals too high, okay? You'll never feel accomplished. I felt accomplished by 10 a.m. New Year's Day, okay? I was hungover, but I felt accomplished. So, actually I had pancakes. I just lied. I felt accomplished today. What is today, the 3rd or the 2nd? I don't know. I already How do you lose track of the days 2 or 3 days in? I've already lost count of the days this year. It's Monday. Wait, I'm looking at my computer. It is January 2nd. I feel like an idiot. Damn it. I wish it was the 3rd. Because then losing count after 3, I barely have that many fingers on one hand. I mean, but losing count after the second day, yeah, I can stick that amount of fingers up my butthole. So you shouldn't lose count. Alright, this is we're already 2.5 minutes in to this podcast and I'm already off track and making gross jokes. So, let's bring it back. Let's do 2016, a year in review. Let's look back to see where it all went wrong and how we can work to improve it this year. That's the funny thing about it though. People go, 2017 is going to be different. We're not going to make the same mistakes. No. You've killed 2017. Trump's in president. Now, internet challenges like the mannequin challenge and the Running Man thing are more prominent than ever. There's going to be 8 this year. Really likable celebrities are going to keep having heart attacks, all right? It's everything. What's not going to stop, okay? You know why there's more, people go, oh my God, so many famous people died in 2016. You know why? Because there's so many more famous people now. There's the population's increased. Hollywood has increased as an industry. The movie stars, pop stars have increased. And also the old ones, because say there was a boom of famous people in the 70s or whatever. They're all getting older now. So they're going to start dying. That was 40 years ago. It only makes sense that there's more, the number of famous people dying is increased every year. People are just oh my God, 2016 was awful, all the people who died. But it's going to keep happening because everyone dies. Imagine if I just shattered your reality. You were like, wait, what? I'm going to die? What the hell? I thought I was immortal. Imagine if you were listening to this, you thought you're immortal, and then oh my God, your whole day would be ruined. Maybe a week. You're not immortal. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Okay, unless any unicorns are listening, you're not immortal. Alright, are unicorns immortal? No, if you drink their blood, you become immortal, but dark. That's just Harry Potter. I don't know. Anyway, what would I know? I'm a muggle. Stop listening to me this for advice on how to be immortal, okay? I'm just a boy in a car with his microphone. I'm recording the podcast in my car again because I hate recording that shit at home. Because, I started recording the podcast earlier and, mom and dad are just, talking in the background. I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to record the podcast. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll be quiet. And then they're like, Sharon, Yeah, this new episode of Gardening Australia's on. And I'm, oh, really? Which one? Oh, no, I think we've already seen that one. Oh, we have to. Wait, Mum and Dad, I'm still trying to record the Luke, if you want to speak to us, come into the lounge room. All right, so I come into the lounge room. Yeah, I'm just still trying to record the podcast, actually. Oh, right, so yeah, we'll be quiet. And then like 2 minutes later, I get back, hit record. Sharon, yep, no, it was the episode of Gardening Australia we've already seen. I know, we have such good lives. So that's what I have to deal with. So I went for a drive and I was like, I don't want to not record a podcast today because that's rude to you guys. So I went to a car and yeah, I always pick the most boring car parks. I'm at the one I was at last week and it's all right. It's fine. What was I talking about before that rant? Oh, people dying. 2016. Yeah, 2016. What a year. Said no one ever. No, see, everyone was like 2016 was the worst. I bet you, I don't even remember 2015, but I bet you, that also sucked. I bet you everyone was like 2015 was the worst, and then man, 2016 was sick. It was the Olympics. Yeah, a bunch of people died, but yeah, okay, I wasn't that sick. As a global community, it wasn't great, but for me, it was sick. I mean, I was really proud of of the progress I made last year. Literally last year, none of you even knew who I was. So that shows you that I made some progress in 2016. I think my page had like 800 likes or 700 Facebook likes, which I don't really care about the Facebook likes, but it's more just I had no one really who I didn't know who liked my page. And then all of a sudden, come 2016, did some vids that weren't shit. And and then did lots of stand up. Went on tour with Lewis, which was awesome. And yeah, just pretty much got some people to give a shit about me, which is incredibly difficult to do. And I'm really thankful and appreciate the people who listen and watch my content and stuff. It's crazy. That's all. At the start of the year, I think my goal. I set a really ambitious goal, and I was like, I want to get to 10,000 Facebook likes by the end of the year, and I was like, I just thought that was a ridiculous goal, and it wasn't really about the likes. It was more I just want 10,000 people to appreciate and go, oh, this guy makes good content, and enough to give it a Facebook like, and man, I exceeded that. I exceeded my goal by times 3, which was crazy, and I never thought that would happen. So thank you to all the people who listen to this podcast. Man, I never would have thought I'd have a podcast at the end of the year, because I've always wanted to do one, but I was I would never make one until, people would listen. So, you guys are legends, and I'm very thankful for it. And the coolest part, I think, about this year was not even the online stuff, because I think people only see the progress that I make online, because obviously that's how you guys interact and are familiar with my content. But I think I made even more progress as a stand-up comedian this year, which is really cool. I watched my stuff the other day from earlier in the year. Even I was watching some videos from Lewis's tour back in it was April or May, and I was just cringing so hard at how shit I was. And that was only 9 months ago. So I just think I've done 100 gigs this year. I've definitely times 10 as a comedian as I was at the start of the year. And I think that's pretty cool. Even my worst jokes now were as good as my best jokes at the start of the year, which shows you, I think how far I've come. I know it's really cool to watch back, and it makes me even more excited to see how good I'll be even in 4 months, because this next 4 months will probably be the hardest I ever work at stand-up, trying to get the show ready for the festival, and probably the hardest I'll ever work, which does scare the shit out of me, because I'm just going to put everything into trying to sell tickets, I'm going to try and put out weekly videos on YouTube, weekly either music review or things that shouldn't be a thing. I've been writing a bunch of videos and stand-up. I need to get the show ready. I've been organising, yesterday I spent a couple of hours with my artist who he's doing all the artwork for my show still, and it's, people just think, oh yeah, he's doing a poster. No, you've got to do all the cover photos for Facebook, my different social medias. You've got to do like different squared versions. You've got to do ones with certain specifications to send to the comedy festival. You got to do one for the website image of the comedy festival, and every design has to change a tiny bit. And then on top of that, I got him to design a t-shirt logo, which I'm really happy with. And there's just a whole bunch of shit, and that's just the artwork for the show. And then I've got to worry about the show, selling tickets to the show. Then you've got your media release, public liability insurance, all the venue contracts, and it's like, oh my God, just let me tell some dick jokes. And that is seriously not the half of it. Then I have to do all that again times 5 because I've got to organise a national tour. Ugh. Anyway, that's not your guys' problem, so I'm going to stop talking about it. But I just genuinely wanted to say a genuine thank you to everyone who has supported my stuff in 2016, because 2017 is going to be massive, and I'm excited. Now, I've got to give an update from last week's podcast about the Christmas drone. We lost a Christmas drone. My second cousin flew up his new present first go, and then it just got taken with the wind, and we had no idea where it is. We spent half an hour on it looking. We spent half an hour on Christmas Day looking for the drone, and during the week, Mum went and dropped little notices in people's letterboxes all down our entire 3 streets away, and we were like, oh, probably went maybe in the next court or maybe even the court after. We ended up finding the drone 3 streets away. It was genuinely over 300 meters away from our house, and I was just impressed. I was like, that's a kid's, it's kind of a kid's toy. It's kind of a real drone. But yeah, either way, I was like, yeah, it's a good solid hit out for the drone's first ever go. And yeah, we got it back. I have no idea if it still works. I didn't care enough. But I just wanted to give that update. And what else has been going on? Oh, okay. I got to talk about this from last week's podcast too. So, 20 of you decided to message me and point out that I'm a fucking idiot. Okay, so last week I was sent in a question, right, by what I thought was just a good old, oh, he's a fan, he's just a listener wanting to get some advice from me. So I gave him some advice, and I'll admit it was a weird question, but I was like, no, I'll be nice. And his name was Kidgell, which is my name spelled backwards. And I was like, now that should have been the minute where I smelt a rat. But I was like, nah, I'll be nice. Here's the thing. No, I'll tell you what happened first, okay? So then, I'll read out last week's email. This was the email that was sent in, and I thought it was real. Hi, Luke. My name is Kidgell. It's Scandinavian. And I believed that. I'm an idiot. Anyway, he sent in a question about how he's passionate about 800 meter running, and he wanted to compete with his tall friend, Sewell, who's 22. Now, Sewell spelt backwards is Lewis. Lewis Spears, my good friend. He gets mentioned on the podcast. He's a past guest. He's 22, and he's very tall. And then, all of a sudden, 20 people start messaging me going, you idiot, what do you spell Sewell backwards? And I'm like, Sewell backwards? Oh, Lewis. And then everyone's like, you idiot, he answered that, it's not even, Kidgell's not Scandinavian, you got man, ha. Oh, yep. Yep, I did. Got absolutely swindled. But here's the thing. You know what the annoying part was, and the reason why I didn't say anything? It's because, Sewell, I was like, that's a dumb name, but I don't want to be racist to this Scandinavian dude. So I was like, fine, I won't bag his mate's name. I'll try and be nice to him. And then, on top of that, the guy's email address had Kidgell in the it was like Kidgell something at gmail.com. And I was like, oh, that must be his real name. Because, he committed to the bit. Whoever sent that email in, trying to get me to, well, I mean, it worked because I read out the question like it was a normal question and I wasn't an idiot. And whoever sent that in committed to the bit so hard that they went and made a new email address just to send in that email. It's just I'm an idiot. And you know what the dumb part is? All of the things, when you read the email back, it all just describes me and Lewis. I'm very passionate about my sport, which is 800 meter running. And I've talked about that on the podcast And then he wrote in brackets, making it so obvious. My friend is Sewell, who is 22 in brackets. I'm such an idiot. I'm just... And then also the dumb thing about me, I get sent, a fair few questions, and I now sort through them and usually get the best ones. And it said, please answer urgently. And me being an idiot was like, oh, this needs to be answered urgently. I must attend to this. This kid went, I'm an idiot. So, if you want to, get me or prank me into reading out your dumb shit, email me at luke.kidgell@gmail.com. Because apparently I'm gullible and I'm an easy target. So, thanks, Eccles, or whatever your actual name is, for making me look like a dumbass and making 20 people message me on Snapchat going, hey man, did you know that you're an idiot? I'm like, yep, I did. Been pointed out to me 19 more times. Appreciate it though. Apparently that's, how mad it made me? Because everyone listening was like, you're an idiot, Luke. And I was the only one. That's what made me angry. I didn't pick up on it at all until someone told me. So anyway, thank you very much for that. And just eat a barrel of dicks. Moving on. Let's do the questions, okay? Actually, no. Here's the thing I got. We're running out of time. Oh, no, we're not. We're only at 16 minutes. Okay, I had a good story, actually, from this week. So, I was at a car park, and it was with my mate, Joseph Green, who's a comedian and a good friend of mine. And I was sitting there in the car park, and we were just about to leave. And then there was 3 people in the car park. 3 other people. There was a lady unpacking groceries into her car. There was a baby in a pram. And then there was this junkie dude just sketching out all over the place. Just he was he's twitching, his body's moving erratically. And I was like, oh, shit. And then all of a sudden, the junkie guy just starts yelling and screaming at the top of his lungs. And I was like, when a junkie starts screaming, you just kind of ignore it. And you're like, oh, that wall's really interesting. So I don't make eye contact. So I just started looking in every other direction. And then it got to the point where I just couldn't stop watching. So I was like, and he started yelling. And I was like, well, what's he yelling at? And then he started yelling at his hand. He's had his hand held up to his face, and he's just screaming and swearing in his hand. And I was like, what the hell? And then I realized he had a car key in his hand, so he's yelling at his car keys at this point. And I was like, what is this guy on? There's a baby here. There's a lady. They don't need to hear this offensive language. And then he starts pressing the button on his car key fuck, da, da. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this guy's gonna kill someone. And then he starts walking closer to the car, and I was like, oh. You can tell the central locking on his car isn't working. The lock, with the remote on his car keys isn't working. So he's tripping out and getting madder and madder every time he presses it, and it's not locking. So he starts walking over to this car, and I was like, what car is he trying to unlock? So I'm scanning across, there's about 5 cars, and I was like, no, not that one. And then he walks over to the 6th car, and it was this old shitty 1970s Corolla. And then you could see the moment in his face when he realized that his car didn't have central locking. He was just losing it and yelling at his car keys, swearing at an inanimate object, which then he realized were not electronic. It was just a key. So then he locked the car, and then he walked off, and this made him even madder, right? He just started skitzing it more. I was like, holy shit, I hope this guy doesn't come towards me and Joseph. We're gonna die. But he didn't come to us. He looked at us, then looked at the lady unpacking her groceries and was like, who am I going to kill? And then he was like, nah. And then he looked at the baby. And I was like, oh, shit. There's a baby in a pram. I'm like, I should yell something to the lady. I should do something. And then he starts making a V line, walking straight towards the baby. And he's pretty mad because he's not, you know what I mean? He's just sketching about, and he's just had bad luck because he bought a shitty car 30 years ago and he clearly forgot about it. And I was like, oh no, he's going to snatch the baby. So I was like, I'll yell something to the lady. But on the way, he kind of kept veering off the course, the direct line to the baby, to pick up half-smoked durries, half-smoked cigarettes off the ground. And I was like, oh, maybe he's not going to. And then he would go back to the baby, and I was like, oh, shit, he's going to snatch the baby. Oh, no, he just wants a durry. Oh, no, he's going to snatch the baby. Oh, no, he just wants a durry. And he's making his way closer to the baby. And I was like, oh, no. And then he just walked directly towards the baby, and I was like, shit. And I just froze, and I didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm telling him we're human. He's going to snatch it. And I just watched, and then the car park just went silent, and the lady still had no idea. She was still unpacking her grocery shopping, and I just had my hand over my mouth, and then the baby's like, Daddy! And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, you know when you see a kid with a fucked up parent, and you're like, the odds are so stacked against you in life. Like, you are not gonna, imagine just, that's like playing the game of life, and then, like, the board game, and one of your friends just flushing your piece down the toilet. Like, that's just a massive disadvantage right from the start. I felt so sorry for that kid. And then the dad just put his smoked durries in the pram, and then just walked his kid into the shopping centre that we're at. And I was just like, oh my God, that kid is gonna die when he's like 5. Like, no way is that. Maybe he'll live past 10. Here's the only positive I could take from that situation. That kid is going to have a sick sob story on the X Factor. Like a really TV kind of ready sob story. You know those ones like he's going to be in the grand final next to a cancer patient, someone who's lost their mum in the last 12 months, and some dude in a wheelchair. And also a little kid who's been bullied at school. He's going to be just up there in the top 5, and for a good reason, because his audition is going to pull the heartstrings. He's going to get out there, and Simon Cowell's going to be like, all right, mate, welcome to the X Factor. What's your name? That's the worst English accent. And then the kid's going to say some bogan piece of shit name like, yeah, my name's Jathan. And they're going to be like, what? Nathan? No, Jathan. And they're like, are you saying Jason? No, Jathan. See, my mum's name was Janie, and my dad's name was Nathan. So we just put them together and called it Nathan. The nurse thought it was quite clever, really, and they were like, all right, Jathan, what's your story? Why are you here today? And poor little Jathan's going to be like, well, 8 years ago today, my tripped out junkie father left me unattended in a pram in a shopping mall car park, and continued to pick up half-smoked durries and put them in the back of my pram before entering the shopping mall. And then some cow's going to be like, my God. That is quite literally the saddest thing I've ever heard. You're through to the semi-finals, and then he just presses the golden buzzer, and all this confetti comes out, and everyone's like, oh my God, standing ovation. And this kid is just on side of stage in a wheelchair. Like, I can't top that. That is the saddest thing I have ever heard. So, fuck that kid's life. And I was very entertained, though, when I saw that. I was like, well, that kid's, like, man, that kid's 2017 is not going to be as good as mine. Just only because I'll survive, and my dad isn't. My dad's a big Gardening Australia fan, but that never left me unattended in a car park. I assume. I mean, I guess you wouldn't tell your kid, would you? You're like, oh mate, one day I just left for weeks at a time, and I'm pretty sure the birds fed you. I don't know how you survived, but I came back and you were still there, and I was like, all right, I'll raise you for another 16 years. Yes, I don't think that ever happens, but maybe it did for me though, actually, because I have pretty good survival instincts just naturally. Like, I've been camping 3 to 4 times in my life, and I've survived every single time. And I don't put that down to skill out in the bush. I put that down to just cold, hard human survival instinct. I just have a will to live, you know. So one time the tent flooded, but I just got out of there. And look, I got wet socks, but I came home fairly unscathed other than that. And that's not, and that's really a credit to my dad's parenting, leaving me out there and letting the birds to feed me. If he had have left me out there for 3 days, I probably would have been Bear Grylls right now, but he only left me out there for just the 2. So, 2 days in the bush, though, is enough when you're a kid by yourself. Okay, this is a joke, by the way. If anyone forgot where I started on this, my dad didn't, I don't think, actually left me out in the bush. But it would explain a lot of things. God, I'm a hard nut. I'm a real, like, sometimes I'll look at a rock and I won't even be intimidated. I'll just walk right past it. And that's, just a real credit to my dad's parenting, and the 48 hours did me good, I think. I mean, occasionally I'll just see tan bark and walk on it. I'm just like, whatever, it's not going to cut my foot. I've got shoes on. And in the car park now, there is an old dude doing push-ups. Okay, I'm going to count how slow he's doing. This is not an exaggeration. All right, he started doing the push-ups now. 1, 2. Oh my God, he's going to die. 3. How is he getting back up every time? If I did push-ups that slow, I'd be dead. He's like 100 years old. Dude, this is like an exhibit of human will to get up. 5. Oh my God, he's still going. No, not yet. 6. This guy is still doing push-ups. Is this entertaining for the podcast? Me commentating an old guy. He did 6 whole push-ups and he's now standing up. He's halfway up. He's going, how is he even moving? And he's got up. 6 push-ups. I take it back. I said that guy was 100. He's at least 110. Oh my God. He's the oldest person I've ever seen out of a nursing home. And he just did 6 push-ups right in front of me. This is why I should do the podcast in a car park every single week. You don't get that in my bedroom. I mean, I should start inviting over old dudes to do exercise and just commentating it. Anyway, all right, they're leaving now. He's driving? You're allowed to drive when you're that old? Is there a limit? This old guy has just taken 45 seconds to do 6 push-ups and has now hopped in a car on our roads. There should be old people roads. You know there's a bus lane? There should be 3 other lanes. There should be... This is my thoughts on our roads. There should be, like, you got a bus lane, you got the bike lane, then there should be a fuckwit lane, where you just, all the Subaru WRXs can just go down that lane, and there should be an old person lane next to that. I mean, how much everyone would have a crack in the fuckwit lane. Like, it's for the, you do it for a little bit, because it'd be like the Autobahn in Germany. You can just go however fast you want. And that'd be sick. But it's good, though, because then they could all just kill each other in that lane. And anyone who's not a fuckwit could just drive like a normal person and get to their destination safely. That'd be good. Anyway, what has this podcast become? I just commentated on an old dude doing push-ups, and I'm now on a rant about different lane system and on our roads. What was I talking about? I have no idea. Oh, yeah, I was telling my story. So, yeah, that was my story from the week. That's probably the most exciting thing that happened, me seeing a junkie dad, who I then found out that was his baby that he was going to snatch. Maybe he had already previously snatched it, and then he's just convinced the kid to say daddy when he's around strangers. I don't know. Anyway, so let's answer some questions. The first question is from, while I'm stalling to get them up, is from Kim. He said, random 1 a.m. question for your pigeon. He's misspelt podcast and written pigeon, but I'm not going to actually answer it for the podcast now. I'll just get my pigeon. Hang on. All right, my pigeon's here. Tweet. Use autocorrect, dickhead. Tweet. That was, I don't know what pigeons do, I'll be honest. I'm not turning this podcast into bird calls. This podcast is shit enough, all right? It doesn't need another layer of shitness where I'm just start doing like bird impersonations for like a joke that's really like a 3 out of 10 joke. So I'm just going to answer the question. He said, random 1 a.m. question for your pigeon. Were you the funny guy in school? I definitely tried to be 100%. Like I was a show off, but I wasn't the funny guy. I was a funny guy. Here's the thing, like you don't want to say, oh, I was hilarious back in high school, because no one was, but people at the time used to be like, oh, Luke's so funny. Like people used to call, like me funny. I'm sure there's a lot of people in high school who didn't find me funny at all. And I'm a very niche market. For example, on the last day of school, me and my mate convinced all the teachers, like our principal, vice principal, all the year 12 teachers, that we had a 2-man magic act that we'd been working on all year to do at the last assembly. And they were all like, really? And I'm like, yeah, we've been working pretty hard on it. And they're like, all right, fine, you've got 10 minutes. So I went to a pretty big school. We had 300 people in our year. And the whole year was seated in the theatre. And you just hear from behind the curtains me like going, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. And also, by the way, I should say at this point, we didn't have a 2-man magic act that we'd been working on all year. We had a 2-man dickhead act that we'd been thought of 5 minutes earlier Oh no, we thought of it the night before because we bought props to school. Like I tied together a bunch of handkerchiefs and we wore Jedi robes because we thought it was funny. But like the funniest part about it was probably we had another mate who was like in on it and willing to be a part of it. So we got our year 12 coordinator up, and he's a bit of kind of a strict dude, and we got him sitting on a chair in the middle of the stage. And then we got one of our other mates from the crowd as crowd participation. And his name was Dean, and he's a good friend of ours. And he was wearing a Princess Leia costume at the time because it was the dress-up day for the last day of school. But not the normal Princess Leia costume. He was wearing the costume from the Jabba the Hutt scene in Return of the Jedi, where she's wearing that famous golden bikini. So my mate is wearing that, and then we convinced everyone that we had hypnotized Dean. We were like, oh, Dean is about to be hypnotized in 3, 2, 1. And then we just told him to dry hump the teacher live on stage. And he gave the teacher a lap dance because he was hypnotized. And so look, I did funny shit in high school. That was pretty funny. Like I initiated, I was like, oh, this will be funny. We'll get one of the kids to, we just need an excuse for one of our mates to dry hump one of the male teachers in front of the whole year level. So, and we do this shit. Actually, here's a funny one. One day we were sitting around at high school, and I wouldn't say, here's the thing, answering your question. I wasn't the funniest dude, but I 100% wanted to be and tried to be. Like if anyone was like, oi Luke, you know, it's a good idea, like you should do this, I'd be like, yeah, even though I know it's a dumb idea, I'd be like, that's pretty funny, I'm going to do that. So we were sitting around and I was just eating, and then our principal at the time was walking past, and one of my mates was like, you should do a forward flip into the garden bed, because like it's a pretty strict, you're not allowed in the garden bed rule. And I was like, we were pretty confident it was a pretty strict no forward flips at school rule. And I was like, cool, I should do a forward flip definitely into that bush right when she walks past. And I'm not a gymnast. I can do a forward flip on a trampoline, but I've never done a flip outside of a trampoline or a gym setting. So I was like, oh, this will be interesting. So I was like, oh, I'll just commit. So I was like, hold my food. And then I just like ran up, did a forward flip and landed like straight on my ass. It was pretty funny. And then 6 months later, she made me sports captain. The vice principal saw it, and then like, you know, like teachers where they're not allowed to laugh, but like they totally wanna, because like they've got to be like, no, don't do that, that's bad. But they're like, oh fuck, like that kid just did a forward flip into the bush. Holy shit, I'm totally gonna tell my husband about this tonight over dinner table. Like that's what it was like. She was like, oh Luke, don't, that's really irresponsible. What are you doing? And then secretly she was like, oh shit, I would not have done that if I were him. And then 6 months later, she made me sports captain. So she must have been pretty impressed with my gymnastic ability. So yeah, I would say, to answer your question, I was one of the funny kids. But I never thought I'd do stand-up, and I'm definitely funnier than I am now. Like, I was dumb funny in high school. Like, I just used to do a lot of dumb stuff. Like, at parties, we'd just ruin it and stuff. Like, I don't know, we were just dumb. It's hard to explain. Lots of the jokes were very, like, as often high school jokes are with your friends. Like, lots of in-jokes and stuff. Like, I was always good at that. And then it was actually a massive transition when I started trying to be funny outside my friendship circle, because I was like, oh, not usual people. Like, I couldn't upload a video of me forward flipping into a garden bed on my Facebook page. People would be like, that's not really funny, it's a retarded thing to do. So moving from like being, you know, in-joke funny to being general public funny it's a completely different thing. Like, I think lots of people, especially lots of comedians, go into it, and I thought I was hilarious at the start. I was like, oh my god, all my friends love me, I'm going to be like so funny on stage, everyone's going to love me. No, you can't just get on stage and say shit that happened in class that day. But being like general people funny is a very different skill than just making your mates laugh. So I would say I was funny in high school, to answer your question, but I would say I'm funnier now, like in general. Like, I can make, for example, if I went to a party, didn't know anyone, I could definitely be funnier now than I was back in high school. But I'm probably less funny around my friends, only because I get tired of actively, like, I come on the podcast and I'm like, oh, I should probably try and say some funny stuff. And then I make a video, I'm like, that's got to be funny. And I go out every night on stage and I'm like, yeah, I got to be funny. And then I think I just get tired of trying to be funny. And you probably hear that sometimes in the podcast. Like, now I just give up trying to be funny. So Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's kind of weird how my humor has definitely evolved since high school. And I feel like I'm funnier now, like on stage, and I'm a funnier person. But in person with me, I would say I'm less funny because I don't try and be funny as much because I have that outlet of trying to be funny on stage, being a show off on stage, being a show off online. And so then when you like see me in person now, I'm just like, cool. Like I just look at everything really seriously. I think people get underwhelming because they're like, oh my god, there's Luke, he's the comedian, and I'm like, hey, and I'm just like not funny, and like tell us a joke, and I'm like, nah, and then I just leave, and which I find funny, but yeah. Anyway, so what's the next question? Riley? This is from Riley. What has been your worst ever gig? Okay, so everyone who like does comedy or is a comedian genuinely has the story of like, man, this was pinpoint the worst gig, the hell gig. This is the most horrifying thing I've ever done in my life. Because I've only been doing comedy for like 2 years, I've had bad gigs, obviously, like some don't go well, but there's only really one that stands out, but it's not that bad. It wasn't horrifying. I still haven't had one yet that's been like atrocious where like I've never had anything thrown at me or anything like that. But there was one that did go particularly bad. So I won't say what room it was in, but I went to this room and I've never been back to the room since, and it still runs, and I don't know why. Like I should have gone back. It wasn't the room's fault. It wasn't the people who run the room's fault. It was just that night was it was really strange. It was bizarre. Usually in comedy, it's like, and this is a bad thing, actually. I think this is a bad thing. It's usually like 70% males in the lineup and then like 30% females on the typical lineup, just because typically not as many women do stand-up comedy. But this one night, it was like I was the only male in the lineup. It was all females and I was in the male, and that was fine. I was like, good, that's great. Like that's, we need, that's good. It is good to have a mix, but at the same time, there are so many nights when it's 95% males. I'm like, cool, this is great. I'm going to be the outsider here for once. Like this is a foreign experience to me. Usually I'm part of the majority, which is all male. So I'm like, cool. So I went up there and because there was more women in there, there was pretty much, it was actually, I think I was one of the only males in the room. Me, like the bartender, and some girl's boyfriend who I didn't know. But yeah, so there was 3 dudes in the room, including me. And I went up there and I was like, oh, I'm not going to like change my jokes. I'm not going to pander to females. I don't have any like really misogynistic jokes or anything. Anyway, so I was like, cool, I'm just going to go up there and like talk about Kanye West. Girls like Kanye West. So I went up there and the audience was like 95% females, but not females, like 95% full feminists. And I think I said something about a dick, or not even my dick. I said something about a dick. And then it didn't get a bit of a laugh, and I didn't say anything, and I was like, oh, and I started explaining the joke as a joke. Like, I was like, to get myself out of the gig was already not going well, so to get myself out of a bad situation, I started explaining it, and all these fucking feminists in the front row, I hadn't said anything. I literally been nothing but nice. I went on stage, smiled, I was like, how are you going? It's so great to be here. Didn't say anything about women. I was like, cool, so I want to talk about Kanye West, and everyone's like, cool. And then I said one thing about a dick, and all these feminists were like, he's mansplaining his jokes again. They all started laughing at each other in the front row. He's mansplaining. And I was like, yeah, I was just explaining the joke because I didn't think you got it because none of you laughed. And like, it just wasn't funny. And I started full getting heckled. And I'm like, I never really got heckled this bad before. Usually people aren't blatantly rude, but they felt so confident to be yelling at the only dude on the lineup that they just kept going. And I was like, and here's the thing, and then I was like, oh Jesus, like you, and I said to them, I pointed out straight away, I'm like, I'm not gonna cop this shit. So I was like, you're literally doing this because I'm a dude. And they're like, well, now you know how it feels. And I'm like, here's the double standards with feminists, right? They say they want equality, but really, I've never, not once seen, I've been on a lineup where it's been all dudes and one girl, and the audience has absolutely loved the girl because she gave a new take on something. I've never seen a female be heckled because she's a female comic. I've only ever seen female comics be heckled because they said something dumb or because they said something racist, or, you know what I mean? No one just goes, oh, she's a girl, I'm going to ruin her night. But they 100%, as soon as I walked up on stage, they were like, oh, this guy's got a cock between his legs. Let's make his life miserable for the next 5 minutes. And that's exactly what they did. I reckon I did about 2 minutes, and before I just went, fuck you all, and I walked off stage. And it was the worst gig I've ever had. And by the end of it, I just went on a feminist rant. Not at them, I just started calling them out on double standards. Like, he's mansplaining, and then I was like, alright, I'm just going to keep telling my joke. So I started telling this one joke I have about Pizza Hut and ambulances. Got nothing to do with gender, got nothing to do with anything. It's just about pizzas. And I was like, fine, I'll just stop talking about pizzas. No one hates pizzas. And all these vegetarians, they're like, we don't like pizzas either. Oh my God, you're such a typical guy talking about pizzas. And I was like, alright, I just cracked the shit. So I was like, fine, I'll talk about my period then. So then I just started talking about my period for 5 minutes, because apparently that's what females want. And I was, and yeah, that's when they started understandably getting mad at me, because I started being a dick. But I was like, they started it, and I just cracked the shits and then left, and I never went back. So yeah, I just started talking about my cock more, to make him angrier, and I was loving it. Like, I should have recorded it for the podcast. This is before the podcast, and yeah. But looking back on it though, I probably should have just walked off. But I kind of lashed back out. That was definitely the worst gig I've ever had, though. That was the story. Not really that good a story. I just got heckled and trolled by a bunch of feminists who hated me right from the start. I mean, I probably should have flashed a ball sack, I'll be honest. Like, that would have really set them right off. And I regret not doing that. That's what I should have done. Not said anything. Just squatted, undid my fly, one ball sack out, and then just gone, fuck you, and then walked away. And that would have been the mature way to end that gig. But instead, I started talking about my period. That's funny. Anyway, that's the end of the podcast. I think I had one more question to answer, but I'll answer it next week. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a good week. There'll be announcements probably next week. Yeah, I'll quickly say this. There'll be announcements next week for the Melbourne shows. So if you are from Melbourne, I would definitely recommend you get on the mailing list, because I'm going to be doing a pre-sale for just the podcast people only on my mailing list. So, and that way I'm going to put the first Friday. Actually, I'll just put all the shows on, so you've got free reign, so you can choose whatever day you want to go. But those weekend shows, the Friday and the Saturday, will definitely go quick, because that's the only weekend I'm doing. So I don't want the people that listen to the podcast to miss out. So jump on the mailing list, especially if you're from anywhere in Australia. Jump on the mailing list, especially if you're from Melbourne and you don't want to miss out on the weekend spots. I would definitely recommend jumping on, and because there should be an announcement next week, maybe. Yeah, it'll be next week. So thank you very much for listening, and yeah, good stuff, good sesh. I'll see you all next week. See, that's where I should have just pressed stop, but I didn't, because I never know how to end these things. I was like, is that a good enough ending? Who cares? I'm just going to leave. All right, thank you. Bye.